Ladies and gentlemen,
the most transformative sport event on earth is about to begin.
Those who are in the stadium are on their feet.
It's just a long, niggly climb.
Because it is desperation now. And there it is.
Gold! What a result! Another remarkable athlete about to write another chapter in Paralympic history.
Quiet, please. Hey.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. If you love the games, we are the show for you. I am your host, Jill Jaracz, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Alison Brown. Alison, hello, how are you?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I have been getting all the 1 year since
Oh.
Paris posts. And the one today I mentioned to you, I was in the Paris Media Center where they had the ice cream tasting.
It's good.
Oh, that was so
It
good.
was very good. Very good ice cream.
Yes. But it's been so much fun because, and we say this every time. I can't believe it's only a year, and I can't believe it's already a year since Paris.
Agreed. Like, it seems so long ago, and yet it was not that long ago at all. But we have to get ready for gelato.
I know.
We're less than 200 days away from gelato.
Let me tell you something. I am always less than 200 days away from gelato. But yeah, so less than 200 days for Milano-Cortina. And there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then.
Exactly. Thank you to everybody who showed up at our
virtual party
last week. It was so much fun, and I was a little overwhelmed at how many people showed up.
And then we got the messages after from the people who couldn't make it with all that love. I was embarrassed.
Thank you to all of those who did make it. Thank you to those of you who tried. Hopefully you had a lot of fun, and hopefully those of you who listened to the show enjoyed it as well. It was great to celebrate the show with Shukflastan, our community of listeners. We know there are more people out there, though. So, listeners, if you love the show, please share it with a friend. Help our citizenship of our country grow so that we can have more fun at Milano-Cortina. Because, I'm already holding my head thinking about what trouble we're going to get into or stupid things that I'm going to do. I don't know.
Yes, because they can't throw me out.
Right.
They can throw you out.
Well, I'm charming, though.
It's true. You're lovely. I'm usually the one that causes the international incidents. So this could get really interesting.
Definitely. You know who else who is interesting and charming?
Our guest today.
That is correct. We are talking with two-time Paralympian Noelle Lambert. Noelle competed at Tokyo 2020. She placed 6th in the women's 100-meter T63 class, which is for above-the-knee amputees. At Paris 2024, she placed 7th in the same event and also added the long jump, where she placed 4th. And additionally, she has played lacrosse at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, where she was one of the few amputees to compete in an NCAA team sport. And she scored a goal in her first game back after losing her leg. Noelle was on the TV show Survivor on season 43, so you may remember her from that. If you were a Survivor fan, she placed 8th there, and then recruited another contestant to become a Paralympian who also competed in Paris, which was pretty amazing. She also pays it forward through the Born to Run Foundation, which raises money to provide prosthetics legs for amputees. She's also dabbled in competitive para snowboarding as well, but has opted to focus on the track and is currently training for LA 2028. We talked with Noelle at the end of March about her adventures in parasport. Take a listen. Noelle Lambert, thank you so much for joining us. You run sprints on an above-the-knee amputation. Let's talk a little bit about the running blade you have. Do different lengths of amputations have different lengths of blade?
That's a great question. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. And I would say basically how long your limb is, it plays a part. So you'll see a lot of below the knee amputees have different sprinting blades than above the knee amputees. So the blade that I use is a specific for the manufacturer's Össur. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. I am an Össur athlete. And the Oster sprinting blade that I use, it's not even specifically meant for just sprinting. So it's meant for shorter distances, and it's not meant for marathons. So when I was presented this running blade, it's more so of the alignment and how you connect the blade to the knee into the socket. So, the first 3 years of my, professional career in sprinting, I didn't know a ton about prosthetic blades, sprinting blades, how important it is to really focus on your alignment and your stiffness of the blade. I didn't start learning all of that until actually last year. I actually traveled all the way to Italy, and I went and I worked with all three of the Italians that I compete against. I worked with their prosthetist, Gianluca, and they were all very nice. We asked their permission if it was okay if I went out and worked with them, and they were completely fine with it. Props to them, because I probably be like, absolutely not, your competition. But they're very nice over there. And going out there, I really started learning about all the different mechanics and how important it is, because I started to see the alignment that the Italians were using and how dramatic it was. And basically what they were doing is they were connecting the blade and the knee at a certain degrees back against my socket. So if I'm trying to say this visually so people listening can understand. So basically, like what I was doing before is I would have my socket, and then my knee would be and my knee and my blade would be attached directly underneath. We are now moving it negative 14 degrees back. So it's very dramatic. And I saw that the Italians were doing this, and I more so thought it was because they had a longer limb, because they are considered above the knee amputees, but they are cut off right at the knee. So I believe they're called knee Zaccardi. And I thought that was the reason. It was because their limb was too long. They couldn't put it right at the bottom. But what I was realizing and what I was struggling with in the 100 meters, I would get out great. And I would keep up with, all of my competitors. But after 40 or 50 meters, I felt like I was working against the blade, and the blade was kind of pushing me back. So I was leaning back. I wasn't leaning forward. I wasn't able to have the strong core that's needed when you're sprinting. And with this new alignment, it's basically the blade and the knee are already back behind you, and you're at the tippy toe on the blade for the alignment. And that's exactly where you want to be if you're an amputee and you're sprinting, is you want to be on the toe, because if you're a little behind and you're like more so in the middle of the blade, then the blade isn't working properly in order for you to get the most out of the sprinting blade. And so I'm going out there, I'm learning all these new things, and it was crazy because there was a language barrier. Gianluca, he didn't really speak a lot of English. We were using Google Translate. I was going out to Rome, Italy by myself. One of my teammates, Trenton Merrill, he was already out there and he was working with him. And I was actually the last American that was allowed to go out to Italy to work, because I think the Italian national team was getting a little skeptical, because there was a few of us going over there. And this is what he told me. He said, listen, with this new alignment, you're going to be running an entire second faster. Obviously, he's telling me this, and I'm not entirely believing him. But then 3-4 months later, I start competing, and my time is dropping, and it's dropping to 15 seconds flat. I mean, these Italians are running still low 14s, mid 14s, but I was always very, very much behind them. So even to have that cutoff, I thought it was incredible, but it comes to show how important that is. And another thing that I learned is the stiffness of your blade. I mean, typically when you're an amputee and you want a running blade, they'll just calculate your weight and they'll say, okay, you're probably a category 3. And a category 3 can be anywhere from a 2.5 all the way to a 3.5. And so you can get any type of blade. But what I was learning is we needed to be very strict on the point decimal. So I was asking Oster, I'm like, listen, can you send me a 0.5, a 0.6, or a 2.5, 2.6, 2.7? Then I learned how incredibly difficult that is to do when you are making a blade, and they need to, when they make a blade, they can't get it exactly on the decimal that you want. So I was just trying everything I could. I think right now I'm at like a 2.7, 2.8, but the blades, they soften up over time as much as you use them. So if you compete on it for 3 months, your 2.7 is turning into a 2.5, 2.4, and it's just losing its value, which is again, something I never knew because I was running and competing on the same blade for 3 years. So I'm still learning, but yeah, that was a mouthful. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it was just things that I had no idea about, and it makes me think, okay, well, is there still more that I can do to my alignment to get even shave off even more? I mean, it's incredible.
Are there regulations regarding the blade?
No, not for single amputees. If you're a double amputee, they measure your wingspan and they give you a certain height and they will measure you in the call room. And if you are even a centimeter over the height that you should be at, they will not let you compete. It's not allowed. But for regulations on what you can do for different alignment, what you can add to the blade, what you can't add to the blade, there's actually nothing. And that's something that I'm learning a lot with my long jump setup, because we're adding like a foam crepe to the bottom, just because me being with Oser, they don't have, I wouldn't say they have a specific long jump blade for above knee amputees. They do for a below the knee amputee, but I mean, they have one called the Flex Run Large that I use, and it's a lot different than if you were to use, say, their competitor, an Autobach long jump blade that's specifically meant for the long jump. But what I'm using with the foam crepe on the bottom of my blade is I'm adding a little bit more height so that when I add the speed, I can get a little bit more. And it's basically just mimicking what this Autobach blade does. In my knowledge, I'm honestly just copying what I'm seeing other competitors doing. And it's crazy because nobody on the female side was adding that crepe. I saw an athlete from Denmark. He's an above knee amputee and Oser athlete, and he was doing that to his blade. So I was just thinking, and he had great success. So I did the same exact thing. And then that's when I started having really great success too. And then I saw that a couple of my other competitors, they started adding it to theirs as well, because, I started long jump in January of 2024 and was able to jump over 5 meters in 5 months. And everyone was wondering, how is this girl getting this high? How is this girl doing this? I mean, I have an incredible coaching staff. I have to credit them to that. But it was more so just about the mechanics of the blade. I mean, you look at some of these below the knee amputee men that are long jumping, and there are, I believe, 3 of them now jumping over 8 meters, and 2 of them are very, very close to touching 9 meters. And if they touch 9 meters, that's never been done before. And from the able body side or the Paralympic side. So that's why we're trying to get my teammate Derek Loxton, and it'll be very incredible. I know he can do it. He's an insane athlete. But it's going to be interesting once he does do it, because then the whole world is, I mean, we get comments on our social media every other day saying you're cheating, you have an advantage, you don't feel it when you're running. But it's crazy because people, one, don't realize that I'm competing against people with my own disability. I'm not competing against people who are able-bodied, one. Two, I'm not generating the same results. Me personally, I know that the amputee men are generating the same results as the Olympians, but what they don't realize is we're not generating the same amount of speed that somebody with 2 legs is on the runway. That's my problem. I mean, if I had all this speed on the runway, I would be able to jump, 6 meters, no problem, I'm sure. But it's because the fact that I'm an above knee amputee, I'm missing a knee and a foot. And yes, my blade is springy, but I'm lacking in so many other things that a lot of people don't realize. But it's just so funny. We get those comments all the time. You're cheating, you're cheating. I mean, I love it because, listen, you comment on my social media, my engagement goes up. So call me a cheater all you want. I'm getting more engagement, I'm getting more followers, and I love it.
Talk a little bit about that imbalance in your body, because that's got to go from bottom to top, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because now I don't think of it as much. I mean, obviously when I first lost my leg, but don't get me wrong, there are so many. I mean, last week at practice, I'm out in California and I'm training with my training group, and I mean, I fall randomly all the time because sometimes the blade, I mean, with a running blade and above knee amputee, so with my everyday walking prosthetic, I have a microprocessor knee. I have to charge it every single night. It has a microchip inside it that allows me to walk a lot smoother, that gives me the stability I need. So basically, when I put all my weight on the blade, on the walking leg, it lowers me down very slowly. So if I were to stumble, I'd be able to catch myself. With my running blades, that's the complete opposite because the knee is probably 3 or 4 centimeters big. So if I take one wrong step, the knee will give in and I'll fall like just like that. And it always looks a lot worse than it feels. And I never feel it, never hurts, but everyone is always like, oh, Noelle's on the ground again. And it's just because there's just moments where I misstep, I'm being lazy and I'm not lifting up my legs how I should. But it's definitely, I mean, I'm so used to it. It never happens when I'm sprinting. It happens when I'm walking. Obviously, the running blades aren't meant for walking, they're meant for sprinting. So there are very, very limited of times where now I am, I'm falling. Watch. I mean, I'm probably going to fall in the next race that I compete at, but hey, it's fine. It's all part of the learning experience. I don't mind falling because that's when I know that there's something wrong with either the alignment or there's something that I did wrong where I was being lazy and I wasn't doing the mechanics that I needed to. But as far as walking every single day or doing my everyday day-to-life things, I'm so used to it by now. I don't even remember my life with 2 legs. The only time that I actually remember or like think that I'm actually disabled is when I'm walking upstairs because I can't walk one after the other like everybody else because of my knee. I mean, they do have, I mean, my microprocessor knee, if I wanted to, I can swing it back and I can go one after the other, but it just takes longer and I'm very impatient. So I just go two at a time, always. It's things that just you have to learn over time and just get used to. But once you're used to it, it's like something that's in the back of your head. But it's very challenging when you change alignment or when you get a new blade or you get a new setup because you have to trust basically this prosthetic leg like it's your own, and it's crazy because it's not. It's just something that's attached to your body and you're trying to mimic it on your sound side, and that can be a little tricky, but that comes with having a camera and you're videotaping every single step, you're checking alignment, and that's probably the most tedious thing about being, Paralympic amputee sprinter is there's just so many things that you can change on a blade, and I still haven't perfected it. I mean, it's crazy because we were messing with a lot of things when I was in Paris trying to get the most out of it, and it went the opposite direction. It honestly hurt myself more in Paris because I had no idea the type of leg I was running on or jumping on. So, I mean, nowadays I'm very skeptical of anybody touching my alignment. I've limited it to my prosthetist back in New Hampshire, and that's about it.
So your running blade wears out kind of like a running shoe.
Yeah, that's
okay.
yeah.
So how much does that cost to replace?
Very expensive. Luckily, I'm very fortunate enough to be sponsored by Oser, so we get all the blades that we need. But it is tough to see all these other amputees out there. I mean, not luckily, I will say that amputees that aren't pursuing the sport professionally that want a running blade, they're not using the running blade every single day, 3-4 hours a day and wearing on it, so they'll last a lot longer. But I mean, there are athletes out there that don't have the resources that some other athletes do, and a running blade can cost anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000. It's insane, and I honestly wish that there was a way that, I mean, I think that there's so many different organizations out there and so many different people trying to get bills passed in their local states. But I will say, Oster and Ottobock do a great job at doing whatever they can for athletes who are trying to pursue the sport professionally. All the different foundations out there. When I first started training in California, one of my training partners, Derek Loxodon, who I was just talking about, I showed up to practice and I was watching him jump on, it wasn't a sprinting blade. It wasn't even a jumping blade. It was a blade that you probably get when you're newly an amputee and you're just starting off running. And he's jumping 7 meters with this blade. And I'm just wondering, I'm asking our coach, I'm like, why doesn't he have a specific long jump blade yet? And he was telling me, they're too expensive and he's working on it. And I mean, I have my own nonprofit, and I told him, okay, well, my foundation will donate it to him. No problem. And he gets his blade and he goes to world championships and he gets a silver in the men's long jump. So it's really all about, I mean, if you're an amputee listening to this and you really are looking for a running blade, never be afraid to use social media, use resources like reaching out to amputees, asking how they got started. I mean, there are so many foundations out there. I mean, I have my own, but I also have been helped by 3 other incredible foundations that don't before I even was an OSER athlete. So there's so many different opportunities that a lot of people don't realize, just solely based on the fact because I didn't realize it until I started reaching out to, mentors of mine, and they started filling me in on everything. One of my mentors, Amy Purdy, she has a nonprofit organization that teaches you how to snowboard if you have a disability. And I remember reaching out to her because I wanted to start snowboarding. And even resources like that, it's, you're disabled. You want to learn a new sport. Okay, this foundation will pay for you to come out and train with the best of the best. I mean, having Amy Purdy and her husband is an incredible coach. They will get you to what you need to do. And then when I first started track, I mean, my teammate Famita Ayambeku, 3-time Paralympian, she was introducing me to coaches, to people, to foundations. So it's really all about just reaching out to the community, and sooner or later you will find opportunities, you will find resources, and I'm just very grateful and fortunate enough to have received all the helping hands that I've received, because that's the sole reason why I've made it to where I am today. I mean, I've done nothing on my own. It's all been the incredible people that have allowed me to, or have given me the opportunities to do so with blades or grants or things like that.
So you've got your own foundation that helps people get running, specifically blades to pursue sports in some ways. What made you want to start that?
When I was in college, and I was a junior in college, and the only thing I want to do is play Division One lacrosse again, but I don't have the blade, I don't have the type of running device that I need to be able to pursue this. And the Challenge Athletes Foundation ended up donating my running prosthetic, and then shortly after that, I was going on vacation with my friends, and my microprocessor knee, a lot of microprocessor knees are not waterproof. There's only a select few that are, and I had one that wasn't waterproof, and I needed a waterproof prosthetic to go to the beach and to be able to go in the water with my friends. I don't want to take my leg off and hop in the ocean. Like, I want to just be able to walk in. And the Heather Abbott Foundation, she's one of the Boston Marathon survivors. She has her own foundation called the Heather Abbott Foundation, and she donated my waterproof prosthetic. So right then, I mean, I'm a year into my accident. I already have 2 of these specialized prosthetics that are very expensive, and they were both donated. And just seeing the work that those foundations did for other amputees, it really inspired me. And then once I was able to play again, I wanted to give the resources that I received, and I wanted to be able to give that to other people who were in need. So with the help of my incredible family, I was able to start the Born to Run Foundation. And we did focus, in the beginning, we focused on just, running prosthetics, but now we've opened it up to any different specialized prosthetic because we've had the resources to do that now. And so if you want, a running blade, a waterproof prosthetic, a prosthetic to go mountain biking with, anything you can think of, snowboarding, we are happy to help. And we started it in 2018, and I believe we've had 37 or 38 different beneficiaries to this date, which is something I'm always so grateful to have been a part of, because it's a full circle moment for me. I was, that one amputee that just wanted one prosthetic leg so that I could live the life that I wanted. And I just really wanted to create a community within a foundation so that when people either are born with a disability or they lose their leg or an arm in an accident, that we can introduce them to people like them so that they can see, because that's all I needed when I lost my leg. I just needed to see somebody that looked like me. And if they were doing it, I thought, okay, well, if they can do it 100%, so can I. And so that's really why I wanted to start the foundation, because I wanted to show, especially after I returned playing lacrosse, I wanted to show the world that if I could do this and overcome this, then anybody on this earth can do it. I'm living proof of that. And so I'm very passionate about it, and I'm very lucky to have an incredible mother. She does all the hard work. I am just the face of it. She's doing all the tough work and the late hours on top of having a full-time job. So I'm very grateful to my mother, but I'm very fortunate enough to have people in my family wanting to create this community and help me with this dream, because it's something that a lot of amputees, a lot of people with disabilities will say is, It started with this one foundation, and then you started learning about all these other foundations, this whole community. Once I started competing in the Paralympics and I was introduced to that world, it was amazing. I loved showing up at a track meet and watching all these incredible athletes with disabilities not only perform at a level that's high for people with disabilities, but they're competing at a level that they compete against people with able body. And I thought that was just something that's so amazing to be a part of. It's just so inspiring. And I know a lot of people who are in the disabled community sometimes hate that word, but I mean, if I'm having a tough day and I don't want to go to practice, I am so fortunate enough to be able to practice with the incredible training group that I have in Chula Vista, California, because we have people who are visually impaired, cerebral palsy, wheelchair athletes, amputees, and I get to be a part of it. And we just get to compete against one another. Listen, I'm the slowest one in the training group. I will say it, but it doesn't mean I don't have fun with everybody else. I always Noah Malone, he's the fastest Paralympian that Team USA has. He's visually impaired. Every single day I line up on the starting blocks next to him. I'm like, all right, Noah, I'm going to get you on this one. I'm going to get you on this one. And it's that community that I'm so lucky to be a part of. And every time I'm having a bad day, I just look over at them and I'm like, well, they're here. They showed up. Why can't I do it? I should show up, even if I don't have a smile on my face, still work hard, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and just be appreciative of where you're at. So I think it's amazing community to be a part of, and I'm very grateful.
Well, and getting people into sports, we talk with so many people how sports has changed lives. And it's kind of nice to be able to have foundations that get people into sports so they can have these transformative experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, our first beneficiary that we ever donated to, he was a 2-year-old boy, and his parents wanted him to have a running blade so that he could play sports just like the regular kids. And so I'm sitting in the prosthetic office, and this little boy puts the running blade on, and he starts running down the hall like he's had it his entire life. And I'm sitting there, and of course, I'm like almost crying, seeing his family and their reactions, but I'm also jealous because it took me 2 weeks to get off a treadmill, being harnessed on a treadmill, and that I could run on my own. And this little dude is doing it, and the first time he gets his blade. So I think kids are resilient. I mean, I went to a disabled kids camp called Nubbability, and when I got home, everyone was like, oh, did you inspire a lot of kids to start sports? I'm like, absolutely not. They were the ones inspiring me, because when you're born with a disability, you don't know what life is like without it. So obviously you're going to think you are going to think that I can do whatever. And that's exactly how they should think. Anybody can do anything. It's just if you put your mind to it. And so that's why when we donated to this little boy, it was so amazing just to be a part of that moment. And every single time, I mean, we meet a young little boy or a young little girl, and they've been born with a disability. It's insane. I mean, look at Ezra Freck and the things that he's been able to do in the 19 years of his life. It's amazing. It's inspiring. And it's just, I mean, I think I grew up playing sports. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for sports. I mean, sports is the reason why I live my life. I'm a very competitive person. I have 3 older brothers. They all played sports. So at a very early age, I knew that this was something I wanted to do with my life. And people, I mean, if you don't grow up playing sports, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but what I've learned so much of my just life lessons from sports, and it has nothing to do with being an athlete. It's time management, it's being disciplined, it's being a part of a team, and not being selfish, and all these different things that I've learned from just being an athlete that I've taken into my everyday life that have nothing to do with athletics. When I was going into college, a lot of people are terrified to go into their freshman year of college because they're going into a whole new environment. They don't know anybody. I was walking in with 30 sisters automatically that I know that I'm going to be bonded with and that I'm going to be able to connect with, and that's going to help me. So that's why I always say, if you ever have the opportunity to either play a sport in college, or even if it's not even a sport, if it's to play be a musician, I'm trying to think of all the different things that you can do, or be a part of a community in a group, absolutely do it, because it's going to get you out of your comfort zone, and it's going to help your social life. It's going to help with time management. I'm always 15 minutes early to everything. because of the fact that I have PTSD from college and being late. So it's just, there's so many different things that you can learn from sports. And I just always love how, I get it. A lot of people, sports are just not for them, but just find that one, find that something, find that hobby. And if you're an artist, anything that can just get you out of your comfort zone, because that's when you really figure out who you are, because you're going to fail at everything you try in life, but it's kind of how you respond, and it's how you want to work towards it, that you can realize, be like, oh my God, I just went through the hardest thing of my entire life. How did I respond? I never wanted to quit. Okay, well, I can take that into my everyday life and realize that if I work hard at something, then I'll be able to accomplish it.
When you got your prosthetic and could play lacrosse again, how was your agility?
Terrible. Oh my God, it was awful. That was something, I mean, when I told my coach that I wanted to play again, obviously, like, she's like, oh, whatever you need, absolutely, the team, the university behind you 100%. Whatever you need to do, get it back on the field. Did she believe that I was actually going to play again? No. And she did admit that to me, because there was never an above knee amputee that ever played collegiate lacrosse. And to be able to play lacrosse, you need to be able to cut back and forth. You need to be able to change directions. You need to be able to backpedal. How am I going to do this if I'm missing not only a foot, but a knee as well? And that's when I was introduced to my incredible assistant coach. And she was only like a few years older than me. And so she was practicing every single day. So she took it upon herself to whip me into shape. She made me practice with her before and after practice every single day. And we would work on footwork drills. That's the only thing we would work on. And just getting comfortable with going in the ladders, being able to cut back and forth. And believe it or not, I actually could cut better off my prosthetic side than my real side, because when I'm cutting off my prosthetic side, I'm automatically leading into, my sound side, my actual leg. And so I just needed to figure out a position that would work for me. So I just would work the inside game on the offense, and I would do a lot of cut throughs. I would create space, but then people would forget that I was even there, and then I'd be wide open. So it took a lot of work to kind of figure out and to trust a prosthetic blade that was not even mine. But it just took practice. And I mean, I look back on some of the videos that I was doing with my assistant coach of the footwork drills, and I don't even know if I could do that today. I mean, she was having me do all these crazy things, but I mean, that was the reason why I was able to return, because my assistant coach admitted to me one day at practice, she's like, Noelle, I can't even tell the fact that you have a prosthetic leg. That, like, if I just looked from, the waist up, I would not be able to tell. And that was just solely based on me practicing the footwork, and just getting in my mind that I can't worry about the bottom half of my body when I'm playing lacrosse, because your eyes always have to be up. You have to be able to catch the ball. You need to be able to throw it and see the field. So that's just what I was able to learn. And again, very fortunate enough to have a coach that was willing to take that time with me, because obviously it would have been very easy to push me aside, give me a couple drills, throw me into my last game of my senior year. But no, we both were very passionate about it, and it worked out.
Female lacrosse players have a history of blowing out their knees. Were you worried about your able leg?
No, honestly, never. I don't know. Because that is so true, because I mean, one of my teammates, she blew her knee out twice, and it was so terrible to see. And I felt for her. And I always say, like, I always compare my amputation to an ACL surgery, because I was out for a year and I basically had to learn how to reuse my knee. I think what I just focused on was just keeping my real leg as healthy as I could, and not trying to overload it, but also being in the weight room to strengthen it as much as possible. And I think, honestly, when I didn't have my walking prosthetic on in the beginning, I would use crutches a lot. And I think that would help with, the stability, with creating strength. I was still squatting a lot. And when I first started squatting, I would only put the weight on my actual leg. I wouldn't even use my prosthetic side. Now that's a big no-no. I need to put equal weight on each side. But yeah, it comes down to the fact that, and that's what a lot of people don't realize, is professional athletes who are amputees. And if they're a single leg amputee, it's like, our real leg takes a lot. It takes a lot of workload, but it comes to show that you have to take the time and the energy for recovery, for strengthening it the right way. But I've been very lucky in that aspect. But yeah, it was never something that crossed my mind. Injuries I was the type of athlete that always worked through injuries or played through injuries. I supposedly I had a stress fracture on my the only leg I have left, the only ankle I have left, and I didn't even realize I had it until I lost my leg and they took an x-ray of my other leg and they were like, "Do you know that you have a stress fracture?" I'm like, "From the accident?" And they were like, "No. It's been there for," and I always had pain in my ankle, but I was always the person. I never wanted to miss a game. I never, even to this day, I mean, if there's something that's bothering me and it's not terrible, I will train through it because I don't want to miss practice. I don't want to miss a game. I mean, I don't want to miss a competition. Probably not the smartest thing to do as I grow older. So, I mean, luckily I have an incredible training facility where I have a lot of sports medicine access. So ice baths, saunas almost every day. I get massages. If there's anything that's really, really bothering me, I'll tend to, but if it's just something that's like doesn't feel right that day, I'm like, oh, I'll just train through it. It's my body telling me I'm tired.
Let's get into the Paralympics. You found out about the Paralympic movement during 2016. Was it nice to have that extra year for Tokyo 2020?
Absolutely. Yes. I always say it was a blessing in disguise because I had a whole extra year to train. That's something that I wasn't great at, and just getting to learn it. And I wouldn't even say like it gave me more experience because I didn't get any more competition experience, but what it did give me was time to practice a lot more and to just focus and do things with my coach that I needed to focus on. But yeah, definitely that extra year definitely helped. Did I feel for all the athletes training for that entire 4 years and I got put? Absolutely. I mean, I felt terrible. Obviously, people, that's what they train for. And then, but I mean, luckily it wasn't canceled and we were still able to get it in. But yeah, I spent every single day, that extra day, all those extra days that I had was given. I used it to my benefit and to try to figure out a way to solidify me making that team.
So your 100-meter final was in the rain and you had an outside lane. So and you've had an outside lane in Paris too for the finals. Do you have lane preferences? Have you been able to develop that in the time you've been
Yeah.
track and field?
So how it works is typically the athletes that have the best seed times, they get the middle. I don't have a preference. I don't really care. Obviously, like I'm competing against all these other incredible athletes that have been doing it a lot longer than I have, especially in Tokyo. I mean, I can't really use that excuse now, but in Tokyo, I was ecstatic to be there. And at that point, and I love that it was raining because, I grew up outdoor athlete. I mean, in all different types of conditions. I've played in the pouring rain, the freezing rain, the snow, blizzards. I've played in it all. So I was hoping that it was going to be downpouring, so maybe it could give me a little leverage on some of these other experienced athletes and some of these other athletes that were stronger than me. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm grateful to just continuing to make the finals because, I mean, if you look at my race in Tokyo and my race in Paris, you'll see the athletes and you'll see some athletes who have both of their legs. And everyone always asks me and my family, they're like, it's not fair. Like, why are they doing this? I mean, it's nobody's fault. And what I try to tell them is every single classification group in the Paralympics, they have something like that. And it's just solely based because there's not enough people in their classification, like a T42, they always run with T63s, which is an above knee amputee. I'm a T63. And they don't have enough people to separate it. So what they do is they see what their times are and they'll put them with the people who have similar times. So I'm running against people who have two legs, and I'm also running against the knee dysarthric. So I'm a true above knee amputee. You call me a true AK. I'm just happy to be in the finals. And I'm happy to be keeping up with them and getting like inching closer to them each year that I do compete. But I mean, that's why I switched to long jump. That was a big reason why I switched to long jump, because I knew that if I could keep up with them for 30, 40 meters, that's all I have to run on a long jump runway. So if I can just learn how to take off, I'll figure this out. But yeah, I don't have a preference. I don't really care. You could put me in any different type of conditions as long as we're all running in the same conditions, and preferably we're running in a tailwind. Never a headwind, please. I mean, it's crazy because you go to national championships or you go to when we had trials. That's when like I always get very worried about the wind, because when you're trying to make a Paralympic team, I'm not just competing against the people in my classification group, above knee amputee women. I am competing against every single woman with a disability. And basically how it works is when you make the national team, there's an A standard and a B standard. When they are picking these world championship teams or Paralympic teams, the people who have the highest percentages, like, or closest to their A standard, that's who gets to go. So say if there's only 25 slots, after trials, they'll put say if we're just talking about the woman, they'll put every single woman into a spreadsheet, and whoever has the highest percentages, if you've hit your A standard 110%, or say if you've hit your A standard at 92%, you're just put in, and they go down the line, 1, 2, 3, 4, even if they're not in your disability, like they don't care if, I going to Tokyo, I think I hit 93% of my A standard, so it wasn't a sure thing. So if there were people that hit a higher percentage than me that were not in my disability, they wouldn't have made the team, if that makes sense. And so that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's not like the Olympics where you go to trials and the top 3 automatically go. You can win the race and you can beat everybody there, but as long as, if you don't hit your standard, or if you're not close to the cutoff line, then you're not going. So that was just something. When I made the Tokyo team, it was crazy because they didn't even announce the team until a week after trials. So everyone's texting me, congratulating me because they watched me win my race, but I was responding like, I have no idea if I'm going yet. And I mean, obviously there's people, what they did this past trials, Team USA did, is they put this website where you can see where you lie on the spreadsheet, or on the percentage wise. And I thought that was great. And, it gives people a little bit of ease and sees what you need to make the team. But now it's getting tough. So that's another reason why I started long jumping, because I wasn't hitting my A standard. And I was sick of that. I didn't want to put I wanted to put my fate in my own hands. I didn't want to wait and see if, maybe some people have a bad day, or maybe, a lot of people won't hit their A standard. I want to hit my A standard every single time now. And so that's what the long jump has done for me. But I'm getting very, very close to my 100. And if it was up to me, I would have retired the 100 meter after Paris. But my coach is telling me I got to do it. So whatever coach says.
For long jump, what leg do you take off of?
Oh, prosthetic one. Yeah.
Was that like a no-brainer choice?
Absolutely. You look at all the people competing. I would watch and see all the other competitors who were amputees, single leg amputees, and I would see what leg they would jump off of, and everybody jumped off the blade. And that's why I never did it at first. I never understood jumping off of a leg that wasn't entirely yours and having trust in it, because it's scary. You're running full speed, and then you have to trust that your knee's not going to give out. You have to take off in the correct position, or you go flying. A couple weeks ago, it was raining out, and my teammate Derek Loxton, he jumps with a blade. He runs full speed down the runway, and because the board was a little slippery, he jumped and basically did like a backflip in the air into the sand. It's terrifying, and that's why I never wanted to do it. But I had a coach that believed in me and said, listen, I could get you jumping over 5 meters. All you have to do is move out to California. It's that simple. And I was at the point where, I was really struggling. And this was before I changed my alignment, before I went out to Italy. In 2023, it was a year before the Paralympic Games, and we had World Championships. And when they called the team that was going to Paris for World Championships, my name was not on it. I didn't hit my percentage, and that's when I was really struggling with the fact if I should retire or not, because it was just getting more and more difficult. I didn't know if I could keep up with everybody, but then I started learning about different alignment, and I started having a coach in California that really believed in me, that told me that he could get me to the next level. So obviously, me being an athlete, me being stubborn, I was not going to hang it up just yet. Obviously, I wanted to try to make it to Paris, and it's been the best decision of my entire life, because I'm running faster than I could have ever imagined, and I'm up there with all the jumpers. I'm jumping 5 meters. Before I started long jumping, only 3 above knee amputee women in the entire world have ever jumped over 5 meters. And it was crazy because I was trying to do that in my very first season. So it was terrifying, but It just took believing, and it took hard work, and it just took, showing up every single day. It was a lot easier in the beginning because I had no idea what I was doing. So I just had to listen to my coach. Now that I know that what I'm doing, I tend to overthink a lot. So now that's what happened in Paris, and so that's what we're learning and working towards for World Championships this year.
So let's talk a little bit about Paris. Wild atmosphere in the stadium. What was that like, just being there and being in the middle of all that?
Oh, it was something I had never experienced in my entire life. I mean, coming from Tokyo when we had nobody in the crowd to 70,000 people in a stadium, and you think all eyes are on you, obviously, like any one of us, but it was surreal. It gave you the adrenaline. It was just walking into the stadium, just getting to see that. And I think the best part about it was that it's a Paralympic Games. It's not like it's not the Olympics. It's not, an NBA game, an NFL game, even though those are all very special moments. We're getting to experience this and getting the recognition that we obviously deserve as professional athletes. So, I mean, getting to look up in the stands. I couldn't find my family during the 100, but for the long jump, I knew exactly where they were sitting. So, and they were right there with me. Just getting up to looking at them, that really is what calmed me down. Yeah, it's scary at first, but that's why I love long jump too, because you're not just out there for 20 seconds. You're out there for, probably an hour. So you adjust and you get used to it, and then you have fun with it. I was having fun with the crowd. I told myself, listen, you're going to engage with this crowd and you're going to try to use it in your benefit, and use it to just calm you down a little bit and just enjoy that moment. Because when I look back on the experience, like, yeah, it sucked that I didn't medal in the long jump, and I missed out on it. And I was centimeters off the podium, but I got to experience that, and just being in that environment, and just that's a once in a lifetime thing that, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to have, and people would kill for it. So that's what I told myself, is just be in the moment and enjoy this and just soak it all up. And it's crazy even looking back on pictures and videos and just seeing the crowd. And it just makes me so excited for LA, because the best part about Paris was watching. If you were watching and there was a French athlete at the time competing, that stadium was so loud. And so it just gives you goosebumps, and it gets you really excited for LA 2028. We have big shoes to fill from Paris, but obviously I think we can do it, and it's going to be electric. But yeah, that was something that I couldn't even dreamt of that. I mean, it was amazing.
Noelle, thank you so much for taking time for us, and we will be cheering for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you so much, Noelle. You can follow Noelle on social. She's on TikTok and Instagram at Noelle Lambert. Her foundation is theborntorunfoundation.org. The Born to Run Foundation has 2 fundraiser golf tournaments every year to support its mission. The next one will be on Monday, September 22nd at Brook Meadow Country Club in Canton, Massachusetts. They are looking for golfers, sponsors, and volunteers. So if you want to help them provide prosthetic sport legs to amputees, contact the Born to Run Foundation at gmail.com, and we'll have a link to that and their socials in the show notes, so you can learn more about that very important event.
We've been hanging on to this one for a little while because we didn't want to bring down the pate.
No, we did not. We have an official reallocation for the women's 1,500 meter race from London 2012. This is one in a long series of reallocations, which, I cannot wait for the book to come out, where this is the dirtiest race in history and not Seoul 1988 100 meter.
Right, because the headline, I believe it was the New York Times, when they were talking about the reallocation, called this the dirtiest race in history. And I said, I guess this is the dirtiest race. And honestly, we thought Seoul was bad. This is unbelievable how many of these women were doping.
Right. So now Tatiana Tomashova from Russia has been disqualified as the silver medalist. And the reallocation, she got disqualified a while ago, but the reallocation is what's official now. The new silver medalist is Abeba Aragawi from Ethiopia, and bronze goes to Shannon Rowberry from the USA. Just crazy. From Paris 2024, we also have a reallocation in the equestrian team event. The diplomas have been reallocated. Belgium was disqualified. France moves up to 5th, Sweden 6th, Finland 7th, and Austria 8th.
Mancano molti giorni.
Not that many. Well, I would say not that many J's, right? Is that what they say? What you're saying?
I'm saying many days to go because I can't say numbers.
We'll work on that.
So 100 is cento.
Cento.
So
Duecento?
duecenti, I think. Oh, Lord. They are going to throw me out of the country.
All right. Well, it's less than 200 days to go to Milano-Cortina, and also 3 years to LA, and we just got the word that it's 7 years to Brisbane. So just keep that in mind. The medals have been released. They are created by the Istituto Poligrafico e Secca dello Stato, which is basically the Mint. And they're two halves that are pushed together. Milano and Cortina, the soul of victory and the effort it takes to achieve it. Two halves brought together by the Olympic and Paralympic values. Two dimensions reflecting on the culmination of an athlete and para-athlete's journey and all of those who stood by their side along the way.
You said that with a lot of contempt and an even worse Italian accent than I do.
Well, it's from the press release, okay? So, and everything has to have a big story behind it. So basically, it's two halves that come together. And I did like that aspect of it. It's Milano and Cortina. And you kind of see it. There's a little bit of a 3D element to each part of the half. So you get a 3D aspect. Then in the center is the logo. So it's either the Olympic rings or the Paralympic agitos. And then the back has the logo in one corner and the event etched in the other corner. And if you're a Paralympian, you also get the event in Braille, and on the side of the medal are notches with a 1, 2, or 3 that you can be able to tell tactily what medal it is. In pictures, these look pretty bland to me, except for you don't really realize through the pictures that one side of the medal is kind of granular and the other half is mirrored. So I'm very hopeful that in person these are beautiful.
I think like everything else, we said this when we talked about the pictograms. In motion, I think everything is going to look better. It was a little plain in the static, but I have complained about weird materials being used in medals. I'm looking at you, Albertville and Sochi, and them not looking like Olympic medals.
Mm-hmm.
These are medals. Your gold medal is gold. Your silver medal is silver. So there's no, oh, wait a second, what did you get?
Mm-hmm.
But, yet again, like everything else with design, Italy's been a little underwhelming.
Right. And they went with a very minimalist Italian look, which, okay, I get that. There's a lot that I get about these medals, but I do think they look really plain.
I feel like we wanted over-the-top Italian design, and we're getting, like you said, the minimalist Italian design. There's two styles.
Right. And maybe that's because when you look at the last winter medals, Beijing's was very, very intricate. Pyeongchang was also quite intricate. And you're coming off of Paris with that, I got to say, iconic medal. Paris medals are really something. And this, especially with the front of it being just the rings or the agitos in the center, is underwhelming to me. I just hope that it's
But at
better.
least it's not the La Ligue crystal ones where you couldn't even tell what you won in Albertville because it just had that. It was all crystal and then just the tiny little strip of the metal.
I have to say, I wrote a blog post about this and I looked back at the other medals that were in Italy's past for Winter Olympics. And you remember the Torino CDs?
Talk about iconic.
Are.
They may have been ugly, but nobody doesn't know what those medals are from.
Right. Those do live large, and they are also quite minimalist in design, but they are, I think, still the largest physical medals that have ever been put out and very distinctive. The Paralympic medals for Torino are beautiful. They're very colorful, like enamel almost. Enamel or painted on what the sport is, and they're just lovely. So check out that blog. Cortina's is also, I actually quite like Cortina's. It's got a big snowflake on the back superimposed over the big mountain in the Dolomites. That is an iconic symbol of this. I thought they were quite nice as well. So this one next to those two, this one's got to grow on me, but I'm really hopeful that if we see it in person, we're going to go, oh, yeah.
Sparkly.
That's right. Paralympics broadcasting news. If you are in Canada, look for the Paralympics to be on CBC and Radio Canada on TV, digital, audio, and social platforms. If you are in Brazil, the Paralympics will be on Globo across linear free TV, pay TV, digital, and audio. Did you see this article or this interview by our friend Nick Zaccardi?
I have not read it yet, but I did see that it popped up, and I just thought the idea of Nick Zaccardi sitting down with Christophe Dubi from the IOC, talk about iconic pairing. I would have loved to have been in that room.
Right? And I wonder how much time Nick got with him. And I wonder what got put on the cutting room floor. So Nick Zaccardi interviewed Christophe Dubi, the executive director of the IOC, just about the upcoming games. And of course, Christophe Dubi is very bullish about Milano-Cortina. He says the country, including the general public, is very excited and they are ready to party. The volunteer campaign was too successful. Ticketing is ongoing, and they have sold about 750,000 tickets, which is good. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but there's a couple million tickets available. Maybe they've sold close to half.
Yeah, I was thinking there was more like 1 million and change.
So they're doing okay.
Yeah.
Still a lot of work to do. They have to do all of the temporary installations, so ice, spectator stands, mountain builds. So the excitement, but also the extreme sense of duty with the calendar, which is managed minute by minute, is a direct quote from him. The sliding track still needs a lot of work for the final homologation. The ice is done, but not the actual track. Due to the work that's been done so far, the IOC is not worried about it, but know that there is still a lot of work to be finished up for that sliding track. There is a plan for allowing all athletes to participate in the opening ceremonies in some way, which is interesting because there will be athletes just all over the region, basically, because many athletes who compete in the next day or two likely will not be able to do the opening ceremonies. So they're coming up with some sort of plan for them to participate. I think kind of like how they had the athletes in Tahiti for surfing. They did a drone shot of them. Very curious what they're doing. They're not saying anymore, but they have a plan.
Do they also have a plan B that involves Lake Placid?
I don't think so. I think that's out the window now. They're done. They've got ice that works. They have built a structure in an amazing amount of time. I am very hopeful that that structure is good and solid and will be a bobsled track for Italy for generations to come. Not the Torino element where we find out later that it was really poor construction, because this one was like, it went up so fast that you, from the outside, from very far away, you get really worried. But I also don't know a ton about construction. Maybe there are new methods and maybe they did have them work around the clock.
I'm worried, but as long as it is safe for the games, let's go with that step first.
Yeah. But I would love that this is not just we threw money to get this up for the games and then find out in 10 years or less that it's not stable and functional. So hopefully they've got that worked out. A little follow-up on Esther Ledeshka, as Nick and Christophe Dubi talked about her as well in this interview. She wants to compete in both alpine and snowboard. The schedule does not work for everything that she wants to do. Dubi said they've been talking with her. She will be able to participate in the 2 events where she won gold in Pyeongchang. That was the Alpine Super G and the snowboard parallel giant slalom. So snowboard is February 8th in Livigno. Super G is February 12th in Cortina. So there is time between those to get the competition done, travel, rest, and go, because they're a distance, but it's not like you're traveling across the other side of Europe. She also wants to do alpine downhill, though. That is also on February 8th, the same day as the snowboard competition. It is really hard to change the schedule, Dubi said, but they're still talking maybe they can make something work logistically, because he said the more opportunities for athletes, the better. And I'm very curious as to whether they can make something work. I envision a helicopter, kind of like when somebody races the Indy 500 and they also want to do the NASCAR race that same day. That's down in, I think, one of the Carolinas. You'll see that every once in a while somebody can't finish the race because there are too many cautions in Indy, and they just take off and go to I think it's a Coca-Cola 600, but maybe Esther Ledeshka will be doing that.
And it's such a great story. It's such a great thing that the world press could really latch on to this Esther Ledeshka story. So if they can get her to be into, if they can work out the times, though the weather is always a wild card for everything. Right. So fingers crossed that, maybe the downhill gets delayed a day and she shoots herself over there. Maybe they'll cannon her over, just like stuff Esther in a cannon and shoot her over the mountains and see how that goes. I do not wish them to do that to Esther. Oh, mon Dieu.
We have some drama from the French Alps 2030. We don't get a whole lot of French Alps news so far, but this was good. This was really good. Maribel, the alpine ski resort in the area, is withdrawing from being a venue for French Alps 2030. Many publications talked about this, including Franck Joux, Snow Industry News, and Snow Brains. They all report that the original plans had Maribel hosting women's alpine and all of the Paralympic skiing, but French Alps President Edgar Grosperon met with Maribel officials and presented some other options, one of which was to move the women's alpine to Val d'Isère and leave Maribel with just the para-alpine skiing. And then Thierry Monon, the mayor of Les Allues, where Maribel is located, did not take kindly to this proposal. It said, "This is against the Olympic Charter. Men's and women's alpine have been at the same venue since 1992, so apparently he has not been paying attention to Milano-Cortina. Separating the events is, quote, I would say a Google Translate quote, an aberration, logistical, financial, environmental, and symbolic," end quote. "This violates the spirit of the games and commitments made during the 2030 bid process." And in translated versions of the mayor's press release, there's also mention that the Paralympic participants will be discriminated against. It's going to cost tens of millions of more euros to do this. And Maribel does not, of course, endorse the COJO position and wishes good luck to the athletes and to the organizing sites. End quote.
And this is so strange because both Maribel and Val d'Isère host World Cup events. This is not like he hasn't done any, this mountain hasn't done anything between 1992 and now. It's been a stop on the tour. But he just threw a little tantrum and took his marbles and went home.
Right. So French Alps 2030 hasn't made a final venue decision yet. Le Dauphine Libre reports that they are looking for the best arrangement for sport and entertainment that is friendly on budgets and the environment in terms of venue planning. So, meanwhile, Val d'Isère was not on the original venue list. It's back on now. Could be an expensive decision because Franck Joux said that the president of the Provence-Alpes Côte d'Azur region was quoted in Le Figaro saying that adding Val d'Isère would cost a minimum of 25 to 30 million euros to get them all fixed up. Also, we are down to two options for the speed skating oval. It could be in Heerenveen or Turin.
What countries are those in?
Well, my guess is that Heerenveen is the Netherlands, but I did not know about Turin because my guess was that Turin was Torino.
It is. Are either of those countries France?
No, but they have also said that they are not building a speed skating venue, oval.
But it's not like either of those are even close. Those are really far from the other places. I mean, this is beyond a regional games now. This is like, let's just have everything across Europe. Why don't they just use, Latvia for the sliding?
They could.
Let's have it in Lake Placid.
The Global Olympics. We are getting to that point.
This is spiraling. I mean, I get the regional games, but this is spiraling to me. We're losing the thread of having people come together.
You know, I agree with you on that. And I get that they don't want to build venues. It also is an opportunity to build that sport in your country. So where is the trade-off between let's invest in speed skating or let's not build a venue, let's have it elsewhere? I don't know. And do you bring the magic of the games to other cities? Like they brought it to Lille and to Marseille and Tahiti.
But the Tahiti, but the Lille and Marseille and like having the soccer, like if they wanted to do that with preliminary hockey, have it on different ice rinks all around the country like they do with football and basketball, that made sense because then the finals came to the center of the Olympics. That made sense. This doesn't to me. This is a little too scattered.
Well, we will see. I have a feeling that the French Alps 2030 is going to be scattered
Oh, yeah.
because it kind of gets lost in the discussion. And because I'm very curious now. So Nice is, if you're saying Nice, it's 3 hours, 20 minutes drive from Turin.
Okay.
And Nice to the Netherlands location that's a 15-hour drive, 15 and a half hours.
You know who wouldn't have a scattered Winter Olympics?
Salt Lake City?
Stockholm.
Well, wait. No. Because they were going to go to Latvia.
Yeah, but there was a high-speed ferry that they were going to run back and forth. It was like a half an hour ferry that they were going to run. And the sliders would have been able to go to the opening ceremony.
We shall see how this works out.
Welcome to Shukflastan.
It is the time of the show where we check in with our team, Keep the Flame Alive. These are past guests and listeners of the show who make up the citizenship of our very own country, Shukflastan. We got a lot of news to catch up on.
I have so many fencing results. So from the Pan Am Zonal Championships, there was a U.S. sweep in men's foil. Gold to Alexander Macialis, silver to Nick Itkin, and bronze to Garrick Meinhardt, and the gold in the team events. In women's foil, gold to Lee Kiefer and bronze to Lauren Scruggs, and gold in the women's team. Gold for Maya Chamberlain in women's saber and team women's saber. Gold for Colin Heathcock and bronze to Mitchell Sarin in men's saber. Gold to the team. And in women's épée, Hadley Hassisian won bronze in the individual event and gold with the U.S. team.
Wow.
I know. And one more fencing result at the U.S. Summer Nationals. Eli Dershowitz won gold in men's saber.
BMX freestyle rider Hannah Roberts won gold at the X Games in Salt Lake City.
Artistic swimmer Daniela Ramirez and Team USA finished 4th in the team free and 6th in the team technical at the 2025 World Aquatics Championships in Singapore. Team acrobatics still to come on Friday, June 25th.
Speaking of World Aquatics Championships, Jacqueline Simoneau is nominated for the Athletes Commission, I believe, for swimming.
Nice.
Yes. So good for you. Good luck in your election. Para-triathlete Grace Norman was nominated for Best Athlete with a Disability at the 2025 ESPY Awards.
Para-swimmer Jamal Hill has launched a fundraising campaign seeking to raise $3 million. Jamal is also one of 4 featured para-athletes in Peacock's new docuseries, Adaptive. And the show debuts July 28th and will be on Peacock and Team USA TV.
Team Schuster is going to have to look for a new lead. John Landsteiner, who was part of the 2018 gold medal winning team, has decided to retire from competitive curling.
Badminton player Bei Wang Zhan won this year's U.S. Open, and got a nice $18,000 payday.
Not a bad thing. I mean, people always like badminton. What's that all about? There's a lot of money in badminton, I think.
And we like it going to Shukflastanis.
That's right. So good on you, Bei Wang. Beach volleyball is back in season, so that means Shukflastani Kelly Cheng is on the Volleyball World Beach Pro Tour. She is competing with temporary partner Molly Shaw in Gstaad. They won their pool but lost in the round of 12, and they are currently ranked 21st in the world.
Weightlifter Hampton Morris swept gold in the men's 65 kilogram at the Pan American Championships and set a world record in the clean and jerk.
Historian George Herthler won the Georgia Author of the Year Award in Biography for his book Genius of Sport. Pierre de Coubertin, Paris and the Birth of the Olympic Movement. Also, his documentary, The Games in Black and White, which is about Atlanta 1996, will be on Delta Airlines in-flight entertainment from September 1 through December 31 of this year. So if you see it on Delta, let us know.
More Shukflastani babies. So BMX racer Elise Willoughby and her husband Sam welcomed baby Bo Matthew on July 14th. Mama and 9.5 pounds of baby, God bless you, Elise, are home and doing well. And also decathlete Jordan Gray Eckert and her husband Andy have announced that they are expecting a baby in December.
Oh, yay. That is going to do it for this episode. Let us know how you're training for LA 2028.
We love hearing from you. You can chat with us and other listeners on our Facebook group, Keep the Flame Alive Podcast. Email us at flamealivepod@gmail.com. And the voicemail and text line is always open at 208-352-6348. That's 208-FLAME-IT. And if you need more Olympics and Paralympics in your life, and who doesn't, sign up for our newsletter at flamealivepod.com. We'll have a link to that in the show notes.
And you have just talked about Shukflastan and what it is. So if you are like, what is this Shukflastan stuff? Get on that Substack newsletter and take a read. Next week, we will have the return of Book Club Claire. Claire will be here to discuss the book Above and Beyond, Tim Mack, The Pole Vault, and The Quest for Olympic Gold by Bill Livingston. So look forward to our discussion with her. It is always a good time.
And this is Listener Dan from Brooklyn, New York, saying thanks so much for listening. And until next time, keep the flame alive.